And hello fellow Techers, Space Bandit here with another episode of World of Tanks, and today we are in the T28 Tier 8 American Tank Destroyer. So we're continuing grind to T110E3. I've shown you a game in T28. Now we're gonna focus on T28 and see what this tank can do. Now the main difference between this tank and the Tier 7 tank is the fact that you're losing mobility by you gaining armor. So playstyle changes dramatically, guys, when it comes to this tank. You're not as fast anymore, which continues down to the end of this line. Now, since we're losing mobility, let's take a look at the armor values of this tank. As you can see, frontally this tank is quite well armored. There are some weak spots to be aware of, especially the cupolas, which are not that strong. But the strongest part of the armor is the manlet, sitting at 254 millimeters. So yeah, if you get hit there, it's a guaranteed bounce. Now the frontal armor is good, but not incredible. So majority of Tier 8 heavy tanks that have penetration over 200 will be able to penetrate you frontally through top plate or through anywhere in a front beside the manlet. So even though this armor seems really good, in true reality, guys, it's not that good, and you probably will have to play this tank more as a sniper. I mean, on top tier you might be tempted to push with this tank a little bit more because you can bounce here and there, but I wouldn't count on it. Bottom plate is still pretty weak at 133 millimeters, except it's on a little bit of a slope, so it's not as easy to penetrate, but still lower tier guns will be able to go through your lower plate. But what I suggest you do, if you don't have a high penetration gun, to shoot this tank in cupolas. Cupolas are only about 101 millimeters, so they should be easily penetrated by lower tier tanks. One thing that sticks out though, those cupolas are not extremely big, so they're not easy to hit, especially if this tank is far away from you. The rest of the armor, there's really not much to talk about. Side armor is not that great. Anything will be able to penetrate you, so make sure you stay frontally with this tank at all times. Now what I suggest you do with this tank is, at bottom tier, play it only as a support tank, as a sniper, somewhere in the back, because your big gun will come to aid even in the bottom tier fights. You have pretty decent penetration with this gun, so make yourself useful with that respect. Now when you're playing it as a top tier, I would strongly recommend pushing the flank. I mean, even though this tank can be penetrated by heavy tanks at tier 8, anything with penetration over 200, you still can be useful pushing the choke point, especially if you wiggle this tank a little bit and your gun with 400 alpha and 7-second reload, it's gonna cause chaos even at the choke point or flank that you're trying to push. So that's what I would do with this tank. Now keep in mind that once you commit to a flank with this tank, there is no turning back. There's no way you can get back. There's no way you can turn around and run. So if you're left all alone, you're gonna die. If anyone gets around to your back, you're gonna die. Simple as that. Anyway, I still enjoy playing this tank. It wasn't a bad grind, honestly, but I wanted to skip as quickly as possible to T95 because T95 is a beast, and I'll be showing that tank pretty shortly in my next episode. Now let's quickly look at the packages of this tank. So stock package on this tank basically is your first package on T28 with 90mm gun. Not the best gun. I would suggest that you skip at least to the second package. I actually pre-XP'd all the way to the last package because, like I told you guys in my previous videos, I don't like playing with stock guns or guns that have limited penetration. I like to usually pre-XP to the top package. Anyway, the second package is basically top package of T28. It's the package that I was presenting to you guys in an earlier video. So the stats are basically the same, with 198 penetration on standard rounds and 245 penetration on premium rounds. Now this gun is playable, but you're probably gonna have to shoot a lot of premium ammo in this tank, especially if you're facing even tier 8 heavy tanks, because 198 it just won't cut it. Won't be able to go through the frontal armor of some of the tier 8 tanks. Now don't even bother shooting through heavy armored tier 9 vehicles or tier 10 vehicles. So even with 245mm of premium shell penetration, you're gonna be struggling going through some of the armor that you're facing. That's why I would still strongly recommend to skip to the last package if you can. Now the last package is really nice. You're looking at roughly about 7-second reload with 248mm of standard penetration, but once you load your premium round, you're at 297, 400 alpha damage, aim time of 2.1 seconds, which is pretty nice, accuracy at .38, which is your standard American gun. View range of 370 meters, signal range 745. This package is actually quite playable. It's really nice to play, so I would strongly recommend it. Anyway, I had good time in this tank, and I might come back to it one point in time because I ran through it pretty quickly, so my best game in it probably could be better, but regardless, let's skip to the gameplay and show you what this tank can do. Okay, so we are on map Malinovka. Tier 8 battle, which is great. Tier 7 is the lowest tier in this matchup. No artillery on a big map like this. Absolutely fantastic. Artillery is not your friend in this tank. Oh no. Oh no, the roof is pretty weak, and every time you get penned, you get shafted, pretty much. That's about it. But because we are top tier and we have heavy armor, we're gonna go to the choke point, and that's what I'm gonna try to do. But in order to get there, yes, put on some music, you know, I don't know, something lively, maybe the Beatles, or maybe AC/DC, or whatever music you're into, because by the time you get to the fight, you're gonna get bored. And that's the only problem with this line. Once you start at tier 8, this is what you're gonna run into. Slow vehicles. And that goes for T95, same goes for T110E3. So you gotta get used to this gameplay. So that's what I said, it's quite a jump from tier 7 to tier 8, because tier 7 plays completely different. It's more mobile vehicle, you have no armor, so you use your mobility for the most part. Once you get to this tier, it's mostly about armor. Although, out of all these tiers, starting from tier 8 to tier 10, I think tier 8 is the weakest because the armor is not really that great, and anything can really pen you through the front. Even though you have 203 millimeters or something like that, yeah, forget about it. It's not gonna hold. The guns at tier 8 already have penetrations of 220, so yeah, it's gonna be trouble. Anyway, in this situation, I decided to go and push the flank, and depending on what happens on the hill, I know that I'm not gonna be fast enough to get to the hill. I know that my teammates are gonna be probably there before me, but I have to scope out situation and I have to see what's going on. So before I actually commit myself to go to the hill, I remember what I told you guys before, if you commit yourself to the flank with this tank, you can easily die. So you have to make that decision early. So I'm paying attention to the map, making sure that our team spots first to see. Basically what I want to do is see how many tanks are actually going to show up on top of the hill. If there's going to be the same number as our tanks, I'm going to move on and I'm going to try to push with them. Now if all of a sudden we're going to see a lot more tanks on the hill than what we're sending to the hill, then I will reconsider and I might not push. Now at this point in time I see only 2 tanks. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? There's not too many. We can push this really easily. I'm going to push with my team. So I decided at this point that I'm committing to the hill. Correct? But as I'm driving, you're gonna see more and more. By the way, take a look at this shot. Bow! See you later. Go to the next thing, bro. Anyway, by the time I get to the hill, you'll see what happens. You're gonna see more and more red showing up. So at this point in time, I made a decision. You know what? I think there's a lot more of them there than I think. So I think I'm gonna back up, but in the meantime, I'm gonna try to take some, you know, speculative shots here and there. Now that shot that I fired earlier, I think that should have penned. That went straight through his cupola. I slowed it down, guys. That was straight through his cupola. That's what this game is lately. I don't know what it is, but still, gold shells everywhere. Anyway, so we're gonna keep on backing up. Now take a look at how slow I am backing up. Now that speed is atrocious. 9-10 kilometers an hour. I'm going downhill too. So that's pretty bad. But anyway, I'm going to try to situate myself behind that rock here so I can get a little bit of hold down position or maybe a little bit of cover. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to support my greenies that didn't make it to the hill as much as I can, because eventually, look at those numbers. They have what, 7-8 tanks on top of the hill right now? So eventually those tanks will be pushing down the hill. So this is what I was setting up for right here. And we're gonna basically post up. The rock on the left is protecting me from the left side. Only the guys from the front can shoot me, and that's exactly what I want, right? In the meantime, I'm also paying attention to the field, making sure that no one is pushing through the field, and if they did, then I would take some shots at them as well. So patience is the key right here. We're gonna line up a shot of this atomic. We put a shell into him. 435 roll, very nice roll. 400 alpha on this gun is really, really good. And take a look at this reload, 7.68. So I was wrong a little bit. The reload is a little bit closer to 8 seconds than 7. But with food, you can probably bring it a lot closer to 7. So we see this Carnarvon. We put a shell into him. 400 roll. Now all of a sudden I notice this Wheezy is looking at me. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be good. His pen and his alpha, take a look what it did to me. It took half of my hit points. That's exactly what happens, guys. Anything with big gun, a tier 8 will be able to pen you to the front. And they don't even have to aim properly, as long as they don't hit your manlet. That's pretty much it. Anyway, we're gonna come up here. I want more protection from the left, and I want a little bit of angle. I don't want, if the Wheezy is looking at me, I don't want him to pen me. If I have a little bit of angle, I might be able to bounce. That's why you see me do that. But he all of a sudden overcommitted, and he's pushing down. So we're gonna put a shell into him. He's gonna run into our Fatherland. I see 2 stars on our Fatherland's barrel. I know he's a decent player, so I'm pretty sure he's gonna be able to hold there for quite a bit. And if he does, then I should be able to be putting shots into these guys once they come down the hill. So I'm trying to line up a shot at this atomic, but I can't see him. He's hiding all the time, playing hide and seek with me. Here we're gonna line up a shot. Unfortunately, we hit his manlet, and he's got pretty good armor there, so we bounced that shell. Again, we're staying patient. Even though we're winning the game and we're winning the other side of the field, on this flank we're really weak. And our tanks that are currently at, what, D7, they're going to just keep pushing through. So we're going to be isolated here. As you can see now, this tier 8 heavy, French heavy, started pushing our Fatherland. And unfortunately, our Fatherland is going to die. And try to put a shell into the turret of the AMX, but unfortunately I think it went into the manlet. So we're gonna switch to our APCR rounds. There, look at that shot. I don't know. Tell me whether that wasn't a gold shell. There's gonna be another one here, I think. No, that one pens. Okay, that's a good shot. So we're gonna drop here. Trying to bait a shot from him. I'm trying to play it, you know, move backwards and kind of get my gun depression. Hopefully if he shoots at me, that he can bounce because of the angle. But unfortunately we missed the second shot at him, or third shot at him, and that was also a ghost shell. Now take a look at this, guys. I was pretty sure I'm dead here. I thought he was going to round me, but for whatever reason he stopped. I'm not sure why, and that allowed me to turn around and take him out of the game. In the meantime, AMX 65 puts a huge shell into me, but we're gonna wait until our reload completes. In the meantime, we lost our loader, but we never carried medkit in this game, and this was just to maximize number of repair kits on this tank, because if you get tracked, you're dead. But regardless, he's busy still. He's busy with our T32, so we're basically gonna take advantage of that, and we're gonna put a shell into him and try to take him out of the game. So we nicely held this flank. Tiger 2 still left. He's full health, so we should be able to chew a little bit of damage from him. But that reload now, my reload's so bad. So we're gonna try to put at least one more shell into him. We're gonna come around the rock here. He decided not to go against us directly, so we put a huge shell into him, and then he gets set on fire by one of our tanks, and he's gonna get taken out of the game. So, a relatively good game. Probably not the best game. I could have probably had a better game with this tank if I played a little bit more, but you know, average 3k damage with this tank is pretty achievable, I think. So we managed to put up 4.2k damage in this game with 935 assisted. We managed to put up ace tanker with high caliber metal. We had 11 penetrating hits and 2 kills. Yeah, relatively good game, but nothing really spectacular. But I think tactics in this game, I played it really well, and that allowed me to have a pretty decent game. We finished with 1638 base XP with 2 kills, 4.2k damage. We fired 16 shells, we had 13 direct hits and 11 penetrations. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. T95 is next. That's it for now. Until next time, happy tanking, Space Bandit checking out.